3, 2, 1. Hey.
Wisecrackers.
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 Wisecrackers. Starting now.
All rise.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy LBJ. I'm here with Daniel, Frito, aka RichGang, the Honorable KapNoKap, Patrick Rush, host of Happy
Ruch.
Hour, Ruch, and the great Mibs.
Here.
We are covering NBA. We're the Wisecrackers. And let's get right into it. Who is going to be the face of the league once LeBron and Curry retire? I'll start off. Wet Bananas, Victor Wembanyama. Everybody say I agree. No.
Yams.
Who here agrees? Anybody disagree? What do you think?
But I'm going to just go ahead and interrupt you right here, right now. Man, listen. Wemby, I feel like Luka, SGA, and Ant are all top contenders for once Bron and Curry called it quits. But SGA is my pick for the clear face of the league, and it's time to crown a new one. Out of all the candidates, SGA is the only one in discussion to not be a top 5 pick in the draft with outrageous expectations to live up to. Standing at a 6'6" frame, he has the same frame as former faces of the league like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He has had a slow, steady climb to the point of his career. He was the main piece in the Paul George trade to the Clippers in 2020. And Alexander has lived up to the hype and on his end of the bargain and becoming a bona fide superstar in the NBA and bringing OKC back to the championship aspirations in only about 4 years. Something that his adversaries, Russell Westbrook and Paul George, could not do. He was playing with Chris Paul for a certain amount of time, and that helped him blossom into the 3-dimensional NBA player that we look at him now, being able to move off ball and also being one of the most engaged players in the league with his off-ball movement, his impressive playmaking ability, and just being able to be one of the best 3-level scorers in the NBA currently. And one of the main things that we really overlook when it comes to SGA was once he got those keys to the kingdom, once Chris Paul went to the Suns, a lot of people wrote them off. And his numbers continue to rise from a potential all-star to the MVP candidate currently sitting at the second in the race. If we could quickly I'll go over his stats. From 2021 to 2022, in only 34.7 minutes played, he averaged 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 5.9 assists. 2022-2023, the minutes went up to 35.5, and he averaged 31.4 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. And then currently this year, minutes went back down to 34.4, mainly because of the rise in Jalen Williams and also getting Chet Holmgren out of the draft the year before and him actually having his rookie season right now. He's currently sitting at 31.2 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 6.5 assists.
I got a different one, too. I'm going to go with one that I think it's going to be Anthony Edwards. To be honest, he has a lot of flash and panache and highlight reel material every play, it seems like. Also, he benefits from the Minnesota Timberwolves climbing up the regular season standings. In all fairness to competition, I'd say it would be close between him and SGA. Although the face of the league could be one of the plethora of foreign players that would be no doubt mentioned as a face of the league. However, who is an American player in my book that would be the American face of the league will be the young and up-and-coming Anthony Edwards, a.k.a. Ant-Man.
Anybody have Luka there? Richie, are you still alive? Your camera's gone.
Fortunate. I'll turn my camera off and hopefully turn it back on to see if that makes a difference. However, I'm just gonna keep talking. Personally, for me, I pick Luka Doncic. That is not in a biased sense at all because I am in the DFW area. However, there's an article that I researched a while back. Landon Thomas did it in like November of last year, so it's a pretty recent article, and he highlights some pretty important things. Luka Doncic is only 24 years old. He has elite talent. We all know this. In terms of marketability, that is the thing that I was looking towards and researching to. And I think that that's really important because in terms of
jersey sales,
Luka is 5th. He was 5th last year. And in the bubble, he was 2nd in the entire league. And that's really important. Also, in terms of marketability internationally, he has global appeal. He's a Slovenian Baby. So I mean, like I think when it comes down to those things, he's gonna get more attention than somebody like SGA. I think SGA is a very, very, very talented player. However, when it comes to the trick shots that he does, skill sets that he provides, like on the court, off the court, he has leadership. He's a prominent figure in the NBA. People know who he is. I think his time is coming, and it's also the fact that when we talk about somebody that's going to match the status of LeBron and Curry, that's probably going to be in the next 5 years. Luka's age, that's like around 24 years old. I think that is the sweet spot for somebody's prime, 28, 29 years of age. That's usually whenever an NBA player pops off, exactly like, okay, yeah, that's the best he's going to be. So I think Luka's going to hit the sweet spot at the right time. No disrespect to any of the other players. It's just at this moment, I think Luka is the first one to take the cake.
All right. I hear you.
Daniel, do you have any surprise here or?
No. I agree with you about Victor Wembanyama, and I have some stats to back up my claim. Other than the fact that he's only 20 years old, and this is the worst we're going to see him on the worst team he's probably going to play with. Just a couple of stats that happened. It's already March 2nd, so this is from February 13th. Victor Wembanyama became the first player in NBA history to have 150 blocks, 150 assists, and 75 threes. He only played 48 games to get that. So the fact he's already broken multiple rookie records, again, like as a rookie, it's just insane to think about his trajectory. I feel like he can only go up from here. Obviously, his personal success and his stats, once he has an offense that actually runs plays through him, because right now I feel like Greg Popovich is just still letting him just ease out there, flow into the offense, just whatever works. This is more of a teaching season. Pop has already stated that. And next season is like the beginning of like, okay, let's actually build around this guy. Because I feel like as Spurs fans, me and LBJ have kind of not suffered. It's like an exciting rebuild season, because last year was like disgusting in terms of like we knew it was a rebuild and we still had to watch, no disrespect to Jakob Pertl, but we watched him get traded and then we watched us just sink. So for the most part, I feel like the games that we've won were because of Victor Wembanyama, regardless of how little games may be. The fact that he is able to do stuff like David Robinson and Kareem did, but can also shoot threes. Like, I don't think we've ever seen that before. I mean, the only comparisons I could think of is when Kristaps Porzingis first came into the league, kind of like a 7'3" unicorn. And he's still a really solid player on a contending Boston Celtics team, but he only has one All-Star appearance to show for it. Team success is definitely going to help him. But in terms of Victor Wembanyama, I feel like the sky's the limit. And I think in about a couple years, not only will the U.S. be talking about him every day, I feel like the world will talk about him every day. So that's my take.
Mibs, what are you thinking? What are you feeling on this?
I think y'all are bugging. I think y'all are absolutely bugging.
All of us, or just the Wembies?
No, all of y'all are bugging, right? There's a couple of key context. The first being we'll never see another LeBron James again, right? And so that standard of what face of the league means is going to have to change unless you think whoever's next has a shot at putting up 4+ championships and 40,000 points, right? So what the standard is going to change. It's not LeBron. Same thing with Curry. Unless you think we're going to get an all-time three-point shooter anytime soon, good luck. Those are not the markers. Like within the modern NBA, the next face is going to be somebody whose high level of performance we can take for granted. The same way we take for granted every time LeBron James is on the field, he's going to score 20+ points. He is going to score 20+ points and get 10+ assists. And I don't care what night it is, and I don't care who he's playing.
So I have a rebuttal to that. And
Right.
and it comes back to the fact that when you think about SGA, well, especially in the betting world where I've been very prominent the last couple of months, we have come accustomed to seeing two things in the season. Oh damn. It's SGA. Wow. It's SGA being able to score, and then it flips on me, bro. It's crazy. It's SGA being able to score 25 to 30 points every time he is on the floor, and Luka Doncic being able to score 38 and 8 those two guys are the guys that I'm looking at the most. Of course, I'm looking at Jokic as well, but Jokic is a different level entity where I don't even think he cares about being the face of the league right now. I really
but
don't
all of
think.
those guys, Cap, I think are too young, right? Even when we talk about LeBron being the face of the league, this man came into a scenario where Shaq and Kobe and Dwayne Wade were still out here dominating every category.
Correct.
So am I going to put the next face in the league on anybody under 28? Absolutely not.
We're saying about what, 5 years from now? I mean, LeBron will go first.
We were just throwing it like out there for once Curry and Bron calls it quits. You're gonna have to like crown somebody. Of course, I feel like the NBA's guy. Their two candidates, in my opinion, were Giannis and Zion because those are the ones that had like the most hype coming in the last like 2 to 3 years. Giannis has lived up to those expectations, being a two-time MVP, being a NBA champion, and possibly could make it back there again. Jokic is the unlikely one because of the fact that yes, he has the stats, he has the MVPs, but the media continues to try to find ways to run him down as if he's not good enough. But then you look at like SGA, Ant, Wemby, Luka, these guys are darlings in the media. Their stats scream out that they can be what they can be. The only real gripe is, are we going to get tired of them? Are they going to become unlikable figures? Those are the ones that will then become the candidates for the face of the league. The reason why Giannis is at the top of that list right now is because he's so unlikable while also being loved and put at a standard by the media and by fans of the NBA.
I'm gonna take it a step further. Ain't no way the next face of the league is coming out of the mid market. Not a chance.
I disagree. It could be SGA or it could be Anthony Edwards.
I mean, because think about it. Curry came out of what we would consider a mid market. Oakland was not LA. It was not New York. But once Steph became Steph, he brung that up. He brung that team to being a middle of the mall team, to being the most worth, like the highest worth franchise in the NBA currently, top 3 in the world.
Their net worth was like $300 million.
But this is what I'm talking about. Unless you think anybody in the league is going to have an impact like leading 3 points made, they're not going to transform a mid-market team.
I think,
unless you think they're going to have that type of impact, because that's literally what Steph had to do. He had to become the greatest 3-point shooter of all time.
I mean, I believe in the skill level and the likability of SGA and Anthony Edwards because so far in their young careers, they've both been able to go and transcend their names past just the NBA. SGA getting into the fashion world. Anthony Edwards showing that he wants to become prominent in acting. So, like, I feel like both of those guys are going to be able to go up into that LeBron and Michael Jordan space of things where they'll be able to get onto a Space Jam 3 or something like that. Like, you get what I mean? Like, if they were to come up with that idea.
Jersey eating Space Jam 3. Ain't nobody in the Thunder's jersey.
You ain't seen Thunderstruck?
Mibs. All right, so Fira. Okay, yes, that's the easy argument to make. Nobody's going to be better than Steph or LeBron, out of these players that we pick theoretically. But if you had to choose one, who would it be your face of the league as a player that hasn't reached that point yet?
Before I pigeonhole him into picking someone he doesn't want to, I want to say that Wembanyama can absolutely become the best two-way player of all time.
Yeah.
Will it be in the next 5 years? Probably not. But eventually, like, resume and the other thing is, like, I think if Zion had the talent, he would have easily become the next LeBron, if that makes sense, in terms of being the face of the league, or the success or the consistency or the non-horniness. If he just put that horniness,
completely different player in human, he'd be the next.
Well, that's a fact. Like, if he was able to, like, not let the NBA life consume him, he would have most definitely been able to be a candidate for the face of the league. Like, look at the way Giannis goes on live and he'll say like little hornball shit, and his wife will be in the background. Like, you can't say that. The kids are watching. Like, he's like, and he'll just joke around and like, like Giannis is a very likable person, but then also had a moments with the winner chicken dinner, and this is like he the cringiest motherfucker to ever live. There's pros and cons to guys like Giannis. There are pros and cons to a guy like Wemby if he can go out there and showcase his personality. Same thing for Zion if he could change up the personality that we are accustomed to when it comes to him.
My point, the reason I bring it up is, and I know this wasn't exactly what you were arguing, Mibs, but the foundation, like the setup is there for players. Like they people are ready to crown somebody, and I don't think it necessarily has to be a Jordan who wins 6 championships or a LeBron who's the best at longevity or has the most points of all time. Like I think if Anthony Edwards wins a couple championships, like they're gonna try to give it to him immediately. Even just one, they're gonna be like, he's almost there. They're gonna be holding their breath for that. I agree there's a metric that has to be reached, like you said with Steph and 3-point shooting. Wemby, he probably won't be the all-time block leader, but he could be. He could be. He's not getting 5 a game like Mark Eaton was, but if he has the longevity, he'll probably break it.
LBJ, I agree, and I think that type of category crusher is only necessary if you're in what we view today as a mid market, right? And that has less to do with the player and being like the bar would change if Wemby was in Miami or if Wemby was on the Knicks, right?
Yeah.
The bar would absolutely change the same way the bar changed when Anthony Davis left New Orleans for LA. All of a sudden, he's just constantly in a top 5, regardless of whether he only plays five games a year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Basically, if Ant was on the Knicks or if Ant was on the Lakers, like forget it, it's him. That's kind of how I feel. Like they'd be crowning him prematurely right now.
Absolutely.
But also in that same token, if Jokic had Wemby's personality this whole time, I think he'd be the face of the league right now, even with LeBron and Steph in the league. So it's that combination.
Do you think Jokic, yeah, but you brought up the personality, which I agree with. I think there's certain players that, no matter how brilliant they are, they're going to be overshadowed just by inherently overlapping in eras with LeBron and Steph. So that includes Jokic and that includes Giannis, especially Giannis, because I think that with Giannis, a lot of hype was like, I remember last decade, hey, maybe after LeBron's gone, this guy could be the future face of the league. But since there's so much overlap in era, I think it really has to be like a Luka, SGA, or Wemby, or Anthony Edwards.
The problem with that is like, again, going into like a crystal ball and seeing 5 years. Giannis is going to be like 34 in 5 years. Like he's already going to be on his way down, and I think Cap, you brought this up a long time ago. Like Giannis is going to digress because physically he is so high energy, and eventually he's gonna wear down eventually. Like it's just given fact. Father Time is undefeated. Same thing with Jokic. He's getting older. I think he's actually older than Giannis. I might be wrong about that though. But
it's happening right now.
With
he
who?
has played the
prime
fewest amount
currently,
of
but
games.
on the way down.
Yeah, Giannis right now has played the fewest amount of games in his career so far.
Correct.
I do think Jokic though is the exception. Like he can be like the older Sabonis who played till whenever because of his passing and the way his skill set isn't being the most athletic. Like he can play till he's 41.
Perfect player for old man ball.
Yeah, correct.
Jokic should be the face right now, but he doesn't want to be, and that. I think the
NBA
is low key in a panic mode kind of right now, and I think that may be. I mean, honestly, the only reason why I pick Luka is just because I think he's figured out the league a little bit more. He knows who he is as a player right now. But other than that, honestly, my next pick would be Wemby, and it's pretty close.
Oh man,
I only say that just because it's like in 5 years, but I mean, I think Wembley a bit longer than that, and eventually he'll find his way. Because I mean, it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of like how long it's gonna take.
Yeah, that's true. Because I feel like a lot of people are definitely sleeping on the fact that Wembanyama could be one of the best in the league. If I had to pick like a number 2, of course I'm gonna go with Luka Doncic because The man's
Oh,
averaging 35 points per game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and I feel like there's no way in hell that anything's gonna slow him down because like a Jokic, his game isn't based off of athleticism. It's just based off of pure skill and being able to get a bucket. And when you're able
Yeah.
to just get a bucket the way he's able to get a bucket or the way Jokic is able to get a bucket, even LeBron, even in his old brittle age, I understand his game was always really fundamentally off him being more athletic than everybody else, but that's not the case now. And he's had to find ways to be better. And he's been able to do so without having to just jump over you. So when you have a guy like Jokic and Luka and SGA who already have a low center of gravity and is able to just dominate the league just based off of skill level, when they get to a Kobe age, it's going to be a lot more turnaround jumpers. It's going to be a lot more layups instead of dunks. But are you going to be able to stop me if I continue to get my IQ to the level of a LeBron James or a Steph Curry? Most likely not. And I feel like why I picked SGA is because he learned from a superstar of yesteryear and Chris Paul, who took him under the wing for a season and taught him how to be a successful point guard in the league, how to move off ball, how to
you're
not
so
always have to
early.
have the ball in your hands to be effective. And once you do that, then you're able to go so much further in life in the game of basketball.
Y'all are all bugging.
Well, Mibs, we're approaching the end of the segment. I am putting a gun to your head right now. Who are you picking?
Who's your favorite league in the next 5 years?
All right. And
Bronny, right?
It can't be Brian.
Joel Embiid.
I'm gonna tell you, right? It's I believe it's someone who we can assume. We have to be able to take for granted that they are going to run up a solid stat line, they are going to run up a consistent top 10 stat line.
That sounds
Right,
like
that's
Luka
one.
and Wemby.
All right, but it doesn't matter how much within. They're just always there, right? We need to be in the conversation of the way LeBron should probably have more MVPs because how often can you say this man is top 5 without rewarding what that means?
That's literally what I say about Jokic now. So
Exactly. Same. Who can we take for granted? But more importantly, the marketability, the market he actually is stemming from. And I want everybody to know, I'm a Lakers fan. I want everybody to know this. So it pains me when I say this. The only reason nobody brought up Jason Tatum right now is because he doesn't have a ring.
I think it's more than
His
that. I
team
think
is too
his
good.
team is too good.
Oh, is it
yeah, I
too
was
good?
about to say
Is it too good?
I was gonna bring Tatum up in this discussion, but I felt like it's not necessary because he does get taken for granted. I am not
Yeah,
gonna
he
disagree
does.
with you on that. He does get taken for granted. People act like Jason Tatum is a scrub, and somebody brung this to me, and they was like, Jason Tatum needs to turn his game from outside in to a more inside out. Get down in the paint early, and then bring out the bag later on in the game. And I told him, I'm like, I would hope to God that Jason Tatum never listens to that, because if he does that, he would be the best player in the league and it would be no questions about it.
I never want Boston to see any success.
Exactly.
But
And if he does that, they win 3 championships in a row. No questions
it's not
asked.
even about his game. His game is plenty fine. This man just needs to win. The team is good enough. Is his team as good or better than an early 2000s Kobe or a late 2000s Kobe? Are they as good or better than a 2012 Spurs team?
Miami.
Are they they're very comparable in
Exactly.
skill
Correct.
set.
And
So
I feel like this decade takes for one player to sit here and say, "No, I'm going to get my second championship." Because we got Giannis who has his first championship. We have AD who has his first championship. We have Jokic who has his first championship, and you have SGA and Ant who are the first seed, second seed in the East. I mean, in the West right now, you have Jason Tatum with a stranglehold in the number 1 seed in the East right now. If one of those guys win their first ring, they're going to get into that discussion. But it's going to take for one of those guys to sit here and say, "Nah, fuck that. I want this league right now, and I got to get this second ring. I got to get this extra MVP so I can push myself away from the rest of the guys, like how Kobe did and Tim Duncan did in 2007, 2008, how LeBron and KD did in 2013, 2014, how Steph did in 2018, 2019. They put themselves on a different level, whereas you got to put me in that discussion even if you don't want to. So that's what's going to take for me to really look at one of these guys and be like, yeah, they're going to be that guy.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic is the only person I feel like could be that guy and not have no rings because his play is that good. But he's gonna have to still get a ring to really get guys to just be like, yeah, nah, we can't deny it. Everybody's gonna sit here and give him flowers for his game, just like they do for every other player that's super nasty. But they're not gonna give you the credibility if you're not a number one option on a championship team. Look at Devin Booker. Look at Kyrie Irving for an example.
Yeah, I also think, have we ever had a face of the league who didn't win a championship and like, it's always been like they've been in the top 3 but never been the face if they haven't.
Allen Iverson, I guess.
I would
I
say
don't think he was
top
like
3.
Fair Club favorite.
I don't-
Yeah, like
He was top 3
could-
for like
he
1
might,
year.
yeah,
I
he
think,
might have
but-
been for like a season or two. I ain't gonna even deny it.
Because I was
He
going
won
to say,
MVP.
Before Kobe Bryant jumped into that promising around like 2004, 2005, it was probably going to be either AI or Shaq. But then Shaq was like kind of on the decline when they wanted to give him the keys because like right when Michael Jordan left, Shaq took over. But when Shaq got into the prime years, he started to slow down. Kobe Bryant got into his prime years, kept going. AI got into his prime years and slowed down. Like if you get to 28, 29 and your stats ain't looking like how they was looking when you was 25, then how could I consider you a face of the league? So it's like that's why I'm looking at SGA and if they keep going up, you can't deny it at that point.
I
mean,
can
they
deny
wanted-
it as long as they're in OKC.
I
wanted
I
to
can
give it-
small market does change a lot of things.
well, let me ask this: if KD wins a championship on the Thunder, especially against LeBron, and LeBron is 0-2 in the finals, I think he goes into the conversation for face of the league right then.
He does.
That's crazy. That's
He
crazy
does.
because it didn't.
I think
happen.
really what
That's
happens
why.
is we crown a face of the league the second that a superstar like a Giannis or a Curry, LeBron wins that championship. They have an iconic performance and people use that as first example to say, yes, this is the reason why they've done it.
I mean, people wanted to put Kawhi there after 2019. They started
Right.
elevating that 2014 Finals MVP like nothing I've ever
They
seen.
sure did.
And because
They definitely did.
on top
That
on
ain't
top of
absolutely
that
did.
too, on top of that, he joins the Clippers, and people are like, "Oh, the new king of LA." While
Yeah.
LeBron was on
Because-
the Lakers already.
Because if you look at it, at that time, Kawhi and LeBron were in the same boat. They both went to a new team. They both were in the LA market. Whichever one of those guys wins their championship first is going to get the record of being the first guy to win Finals MVP on 3 different teams. Either way, one of those guys would have been put into a history book, and nobody would have been on that list with them. But due to the fact that Kawhi's on the Clippers and the Clippers continue to fumble the bag,
Be the
that's where
Clippers.
we at with it.
Yep, Clipper it up. We're about at the 30-minute mark for this segment, so a little over. But so we got 2 Wembys, we got a SGA, we got an Ant, we got Luka, and Mibs. Mibs is a Celtics fan now. I think he said Jaylen Brown, right? He said
Go-
Drew
go
Holiday.
$300 million.
He said
He said
Porzingis.
He
said Al
Porzingis,
Horford.
yeah.
I think he said Peyton Pritchard.
Sam Hauser.
That was another thing I want to touch on really quickly. Are we ever going to have, like, Luka's the only one I can think of, a white face of the league? Well, I guess Larry Bird was, right? With
Yeah.
Magic. It was
Magic.
tied.
It was a duo. It was a 1A 1B Luka or Larry Bird, Magic Johnson.
Will it ever happen
Man.
again, though? That's the thing. Probably
Do
not
you
with an
guys
American
know-
white
do
guy.
you guys know, like, who do y'all feel like was the face of the league in the 70s?
Not
Was
George
it-
Gervin. Julius Erving.
Julius Erving. I would probably
What about Moses?
either
Malone.
Dr. J or maybe Kareem, because like mainly because like
Kareem is a great
Julius
one.
was in the ABA and he ain't come into the NBA until 77, and around that time he was like on the decline because he retired in 84.
hmm
Kareem ended up retiring like 88.
I think.
But like it was like one of those two guys I felt like was like the 70s, and it doesn't really matter.
OBJ, to answer your question, I think yes, there's tons of potential for a white face of the league, especially as NBA scouts start to dip into Europe to get more system ready NBA young talent.
Well,
All right, like instead of like American youth development is non-existent, so to get a more polished player at a high clip, even if athletically or strength wise they're not there, you can definitely get a higher. They just play more they study more basketball.
I think Europe absolutely, and this is kind of changing the question. But what about an
Australia too,
American?
you know.
What about an American like? Because I don't see it ever happening again. But like could Cooper Flag ever be the face of the league? Like, are we ever? Like, yeah, I love Pat just right off the back. Like, fuck no, yeah, like that's my
I mean,
reaction.
it like the way the league is going right now, it makes it so hard to pick a face of the league that is American because the top
I agree.
guys right now are all from overseas. Like we're like when we look at this threshold of the NBA, LeBron, Curry, and KD are still the top guys that we look at that are American. The top guys in the NBA is Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis in any order, and then Luka Doncic comes right behind there. SGA comes in there, who's from Canada, so he isn't Canadian. He's Canadian, so that's considered as foreign too, even though that's like 20 fucking minutes away from New York. Like they're gonna always try to look at those guys because they're looking at the NBA being like this worldwide juggernaut. So they're gonna try to find guys from all faces of the world first. Like they tried to do it with Ben Simmons, bro. They thought that he was gonna be the next LeBron James. They were very wrong.
He just needs a jump shot and a new spine, and he's there though.
Right?
It's
Said
Now-
new spine.
two huge things. I think that's gonna wrap up the segment. Thanks for watching. Let's Get Crackin' with the Wisecrackers. Until next time, see ya.